Hello, hello, boys and oh, that's a voice. Uh, I've been promising this for a while. I've been badgering about this for a while. What this is I'm going to be reading Black Company. Now, the image in the background, that is not Black Company. That is Battle Brothers, something that I imagine took a lot of inspiration from Black Company. Um, but I couldn't find a good like art piece for Black Company that would work on a like landscape
Wild.
approach. So I went with this instead. I will wait for a few more people to hop into stream as I tweet this out and post this on some discords. Do 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 do. I'm professional like that. So I promised this. I promised a little something. I promised a little something over on Semi the Infamous's stream. For, yeah, I'll make sure to share this for certain people when they hop into chat, but I promised that I would sing a song that I accidentally almost sang. That song being I am the Grand Wizard Man, Grand Old Leader of the Ku Klux Klan. White sheets and pointed hats. And now that's out there. That is now perfectly out there for the world to hear. Without further ado, it's been about 5 minutes. Let us begin Chronicles of the Black Company by Glenn Cook. The first one being The Black Company. If the pages won't be stuck together. This one is for the people of the St. Louis Science Fiction Society. Love you all. Chapter 1 Legate. There were prodigies importance enough, One Eye says. We must blame ourselves for misrepresenting, misinterpreting them. One Eye's handicap in no way impairs his marvelous hindsight. Lightning from a clear sky smote the Necropolitan Hill. One bolt struck the bronze plaque sealing the tomb of the Forvalaka, obliterating half the spell of confinement. It rained stones, statues, blood. Priests at several temples reported sacrificial victims without hearts or livers. One victim escaped after its bowels were opened and was not recaptured. At the fork at the Fork Barracks, where urban cohorts were billeted, the image of two turned completely around. For 9 evenings running, 10 black vultures circled the bastion. Then one evicted the eagle which lived atop the paper tower. Howdy, Andy Pickle. How exactly was I badgered? Well, let's agree to meet in the middle and say you badgered me. Good sir, good friend, good comrade. Yes. Now, some people may draw issue with the fact that I will be interrupting this reading to respond to chat, but chat is such a lovely, glorious thing. I must respond to chat. Must I not? Astrologers refused readings, fearing for their lives. A mad soothsayer wandered the streets, proclaiming the imminent end of the world. At the bastion, the eagle not only departed, the ivy on the outer ramparts withered and gave way to a creeper which appeared black in all but the most intense sunlight. But that happens every year. Fools can make an omen of anything in retrospect. We should have been better prepared. We did have four modestly accomplished wizards to stand sentinel against predatory tomorrows, though never by any means as sophisticated as divining through sheep's entrails. Still, the best augurs are those who divine from the portents of the past. They compile phenomenal records. Beryl totters perpetually, ready to stumble over a precipice into chaos. The queen of the Jewel Cities was old and decadent and mad, filled with the stench of degeneracy and moral dry rot. Only a fool would be surprised by anything found creeping its night streets. I had every shutter thrown wide, praying for a breath of the harbor, rotting fish and all. There wasn't enough breeze to stir a cobweb. I mopped my face and grimaced at my first patient. Crabs again, Curly. He grinned feebly. His face was pale. It's my stomach, Croaker. His pate looks like a polished ostrich egg, thus the name. I checked the watch schedule and duty roster. Nothing there he would want to avoid. It's bad, Croaker. Really. I assumed my professional demeanor. Sure what it was. His skin was clammy despite the heat. Eaten outside the commissary lately, Curly? A fly landed on his head, strutted like a conqueror. He didn't notice. Yeah? 3 or 4 times? Huh. I mixed a nasty, milky concoction. Drink this. All of it. His whole face puckered at the first taste. Look, Croaker, The smell of the stuff revolted me. Drink, friend. 2 men died before I came up with that. Then Pokey took it and lived. Word was out about that. He drank. You mean it's poison? The damned blues slipped me something? Take it easy. You'll be okay, and yeah, looks that way. I'd had to open up Walleye and Wild Bruce to learn the truth. It was a subtle poison. Get over there on the cot, where the breeze will hit you. If the son of the bitch ever comes up, and lie still. Let the stuff work out. I settled him down. Tell me what you ate outside. I collected a pen and chart and tacked onto a board. I had done the same with Pokey and with Wild Bruce before he died, and I had Walleye's platoon sergeant backtrack his movements. I was sure the poison had to come from one of the nearby dives frequented by the Bastion garrison. Hail to Love It Ever After! Highest Shadow. Well, how you love it? Long time no see, long time no chat. Hope you've been well. Reading some Black Company. I hope my voice in this new microphone is appealing, and I hope the story pick was good. Curly produced one across the board match. Bingo! Or to quote Hans Landa, "Ooh, that's a bingo!" Bingo! We've got the bastards now. Who? He was ready to settle up himself. You rest. I'll see the captain. I patted his shoulder, checked the next room. Curly was it for morning sick call. I took the long route along Trejan's Wall, which overlooked Barrel's Harbor. Halfway over, I paused, stared north past the mole and lighthouse in Fortress Island at the Sea of Torments. Party-colored sails speckled with the dingy gray-brown water as coastal doors scooted out along the spiderweb routes linking the Jewel Cities. The upper air was still and heavy and hazy. The horizon could not be discerned. But down on the water, the air was in motion. There was always there was always a breeze out around the island, though it avoided the shore as if fearing leprosy. Closer at hand, the wheeling gulls were all as surely and lackadaisical as the day promised to make most men. Another summer in service to the Syndic of Beryl, sweating and grimy, thanklessly shielding him from political rivals and his undisciplined native troops. Another summer busting our butts for Curly's reward. The pay was good, but not in coin of the soul. Our four brethren would be embarrassed to see us so diminished. Character list of the company men provided by Andy Pickle. Croker as physician and analyst. And then the captain, the lieutenant. Love it. I know it's been a while. I'm doing good. Nice to see you. It has been a while. Probably my fault, probably. And good to hear that you're doing good. It's all around good when people are doing good, wouldn't y'all agree? Good is good, bad is bad, left is left, and right is left. Beryl is misery curdled, but also ancient and intriguing. Its history is a bottomless well filled with murky water. I amuse myself plumbing its shadowy depths, trying to isolate fact from fiction, legend and myth. No easy task, for the city's earlier historians wrote with an eye to pleasing the powers of their days. The most interesting period for me is the Ancient Kingdom, which is the least satisfactorily chronicled. It was then, in the reign of Niam, that the Forvalaka came. Were overcome after a decade of terror and were confined in their dark tomb atop the Necropolitan Hall. Echoes of that terror persist in folklore and admonition, matronly admonitions to unruly children. No one recalls what the Forvalaka were now. I resumed walking, despairing of beating the heat. The sentries in their shady kiosks wore towels draped around their necks. A breeze startled me. I faced the harbor. A ship was rounding the island, a great lumbering beast that dwarfed the does and feluccas. A silver skull bulged in the center of its full bellied black sail. That skull's red eyes glowered. Glowered? Glowed. Fires flickered from behind its broken teeth. A glittering silver band encircled the skull. What the hell is that? A sentry asked. I don't know, Whitey. The ship's size impressed me more than the ship's size impressed me more than did. That is not English. The ship's size impressed me more than did its flashy sail. The four minor wizards we had with the company could match that showmanship, but I had never seen a galley sport 5 banks of oars. I recalled my mission. I knocked on the captain's door. He did not respond. I invited myself inside. Found him snoring on his big wooden chair. Yo, I hollered. Fire! Riots in the groin. Dance at the gate of dawn. Danson was an old-time general who nearly destroyed Barrow. People still shudder at his name. The captain was cool. He didn't crack an eyelid or smile. You're presumptuous, Croaker. What are you going to learn to get through channels? Channels meant bugged Lieutenant First. Don't interrupt his nap unless the Blues were storming the bastion. I explained about Curly and my chart. He swung his feet off the desk. Sounds like work for Mercy. His voice, a hard edge. The Black Company does not suffer malicious attack upon its men. Mercy was our nastiest platoon leader. He thought a dozen men would suffice, but let Silent and me tag along. I could patch the wounded. Silent would be useful if the Blues played rough. Silent held up. Silent held us up half a day while he made a quick trip to the woods. The wizards are Tom Tom and his brother One Eye, wizened black men aged unknown but over 100. Goblin and Silent. One Eye and Goblin continuously play pranks on each other, and Silent has never spoken a sound. Good to know, good to know, Andy Pickle! Good to know, Andy. That's a very good Andy. Happy Andy. Damn it, Andy, you got me distracted now. You got me distracted. Back to the book. Back to the book. Also, let me know, guys, if the mic needs to be fixed or if my voice is annoying, and I will make adjustments as best I can. What the hell you up to? I asked when he got back, lugging a ratty looking sack. He just grinned. Silent he is, and silent he stays. The place was called Mole Tavern. It was a comfortable hangout. I'd passed many an evening there. Mercy assigned 3 men to the back door, and a pair each to the 2 windows. He sent another 2 to the roof. Every building in Barrel has a roof hatch. People sleep up top during the summer. He led the rest of us through the mole's front door. Mercy was a smallish, cocky fellow, fond of the dramatic gesture. His entry should have been preceded by fanfares. The crowd froze, stared at our shields and bare blades at snatches of grim faces, barely visible through gaps in our face guards. Varus, Mercy shouted. Get your butt out here! The grandfather of the Magin family appeared. He sidled towards us like a mutt expecting a kick. The customers began buzzing. Silence! Mercy thundered. He could get a big roar out of his small body. How may we help you? Honest us, the old man asked. You can get your sons and grandsons out here. Blue? Chair squeaked. The soldier slammed his blade into a tabletop. Sit still, Marcy said. You're just having lunch. Fine. You'll be loose in an hour. The old man began to shake. I don't understand, sir. What have we done? Mercy grinned evilly. He blazed the innocent well. It's murderverse. 2 charges of murder by poisoning, 2 of attempted murder by poisoning. The magistrates decreed the punishment of slaves. He was having fun. Mercy wasn't one of my favorite people. We never stopped being the boy. He never stopped being the boy who pulled wings off flies. The punishment of slaves meant being left up for scavenger birds after public crucifixion. In Beryl, only criminals are buried uncremated, or not buried at all. An uproar rose in the kitchen. Somebody was trying to get out the back door. Our men were objecting. The public room exploded. A wave of dagger brandishing humanity hit us. They forced us back to the door. Those who were not guilty, obviously, feared they would be condemned with those who were. Beryl's justice is fast, crude, harsh, and seldom gives a defendant an opportunity to clear his name. A dagger slipped past his shield. One of our men went down. I'm not much of a fighter, but I stepped into his place. Mercy said something snide that I did not catch. That's a chance at heaven wasted, I countered. You're out of the annals forever. Crap, you don't leave anything out. Look, I misread that. Crap, you don't leave out anything. A dozen citizens went down, blood pooled in low places on the floor. Spectators gathered outside. Soon some adventurer would hit us from behind. A dagger nicked Mercy. He lost patience. Silent. Silent was on the job already, but he was silent. That meant no sound, and very little flash or fury. Mole patrons began slapping their faces and pawing the air, forsaking us. They hopped and danced and grabbed their backs and behinds and squealed and howled piteously. Several collapsed. What the hell did you do? I asked. Silent grinned, exposing sharp teeth. He passed a dusky paw across my eyes. I saw the mole from a slightly altered perspective. The bag he had looked in from out of town proved to be one of those hornet's nests you can, if you're unlucky, run into the woods south of Beryl. Its tenants were the bumblebee-looking monsters peasants called bald-faced hornets. They have a foul temper, unrivaled anywhere in nature. They cowed the mole crowd fast, without bothering our lads. Fine work, Silent, Mercer said, having vented his fury on several hapless patrons. He herded the survivors into the street. I examined our injured brother, while the unharmed soldiers finished the wounded, saving the syndic the cost of a trial and a hanging. Mercy called that. Silent looked on, still grinning. He is not nice either, though he seldom participates directly. This indeed is by Glenn Cook, love it. This is Book 1, Chapter 1 of The Black Company. Book 1? Yeah, Book 1, Black Company. It's Book 1 of the Chronicles of the Black Company. The book name is Black Company. And it's Chapter 1 of the Black Company. I'm loving it so far. Enjoying it. It's great. It's grand. It's glorious. I'm hoping y'all are enjoying it too, all 3 of you in chat. Thank you very much for showing up. We took more prisoners than expected. It was a bunch of them. Mercy's eyes twinkled. Thanks, Silent. The line stretched a block. Fate is a fickle bitch. She'd led us to a mole tavern at a critical moment. Poking round, our witchman had unearthed a prize. A crowd concealed in a hideout beneath the wine cellar. Among them were some of the best known blues. Mercy chattered, wondering aloud how a large reward our informant deserved. No such informant existed. The Yammer was meant to save our tame wizards from becoming prime targets. Our enemies would scurry around looking for phantom spies. Move 'em out, Mercy ordered. Still grinning, he eyed the sullen crowd. Think they'll try something? They did not. His supreme confidence cowed any who had ideas. We wound through maze-like streets, half as old as the world, our prisoners shuffling listlessly. I gawked. My comrades are indifferent to the past, but I cannot help being awed and occasionally intimidated by how time deep Barrel's history runs. Mercy called an unexpected halt. We had come to the avenue of the syndicates, which winds from the customs house uptown to the bastion's main gate. There was a procession on the avenue. Though we reached the intersection first, Mercy yielded the right of way. The procession consisted of 100 armed men. They looked tougher than anyone in Barrel but us. At their head rode a dark figure on the biggest black stallion I've ever seen. The rider was small, effeminately slim, and clad in worn black leather. He wore a black morion which concealed his head entirely. Black gloves concealed his hands. He seemed to be unarmed. Damn me, Mercy whispered. I was disturbed. That rider chilled me. Something primitive, deep inside me, wanted to run. But curiosity plagued me more. Who was he? Had he come off that strange ship in the harbor? Why was he here? The eyeless gaze of the rider swept across us indifferently, as though passing over a flock of sheep. Then it jerked back, fixing on Silent. Silent met stare for stare, and he showed no fear. And still he seemed somehow diminished. The column passed on, hardened, disciplined. Shaken, Mercy got our mob moving again. We entered the bastion only yards behind the strangers. Andy Pickle. There are like 15 books in the series. Glenn Cook is a NAM vet. This genre is considered the preeminent grimdark fantasy. The company are not heroes. Anti-heroes at best. That's just how I like my dark fantasy, Andy. No heroes, no good guys. Just motherfuckers with a sword and coin to be made. Or twinks to be killed, I guess, if we're talking about Berserk. Ah. We had arrested most of the conservative blue leadership. When word of the raid spread, the volatile types decided to flex their muscles. It sparked something monstrous. The perpetually abrasive weather does things to men's reason. The barrel mob is savage. Riots occur almost without provocation. When things go bad, the dead number in the thousands. This is one of the worst times. The army is half the problem. A parade of weak, short-term syndics let discipline lapse. The troops are beyond control now. Generally, though, they will act against rioters. They see riot suppression as license to loot. The worst happened. Several cohorts from the Forks barracks demanded a special donation before they would respond to a direct order to restore order. The syndic refused to pay. The cohorts mutinied. Mercy's platoon hastily established a strong point near the rubbish gate and held off all three cohorts. Most of our men were killed, but none ran. Mercy himself lost an eye, a finger, was wounded in shoulder and hip, and had more than 100 holes in his shield when help arrived. He came to me more dead than alive. In the end, the mutineers scattered rather than face the rest of the Black Company. The riots were the worst in memory. We lost almost 100 brethren trying to suppress them. We could ill afford the loss of one. In the groan, the streets were carpeted with corpses. The rats grew fat. Clouds of vultures and ravens migrated from the countryside. The captain ordered the company into the bastion. Let it run its course, he said. We've done enough. His disposition had gone beyond sour, disgusted. Our commission doesn't require us to commit suicide. Somebody made a crack about us falling on our swords. Seems to be what the syndic expects. Beryl had grown dark spirits down, but had left none so disillusioned as the captain. He blamed himself for our losses. He did, in fact, try to resign. The mob had fallen into a sullen, grudging, desultory effort to sustain chaos, interfering with any attempt to fight fires or prevent looting, but otherwise just roam. The mutinous cohorts, fattened by deserters from other units, were systematizing the murder and plunder. The third night, I stood a watch on Trajan's Wall beneath the Cape and Stars, a fool of a volunteer sentinel. The city was strangely quiet. I might have been more anxious had I not been so tired. It was all I could do to stay awake. Tom Tom came by. What are you doing out here, Croker? Filling in. You look like death on a stick. Get some rest. You don't look good yourself, Runt. He shrugged. How's Mercy? Not out of the woods yet. I had little hope for him, really. I pointed. You know anything about that out there? An isolated scream echoed in the distance. It had a quality which set it aside from the other screams. Those had been filled with pain, rage, and fear. This one was redolent of something darker. He hemmed and hawed in that way he and his brother One Eye have. If you don't know, they figure it's a secret worth keeping. Wizards. There's a rumor that the mutineers broke the seals in the tomb of the Forvalaka while they were plundering the Necropolitan Hill. Huh. Those things are loose? Syndic thinks so. Captain don't take it seriously. I didn't either, though Tom Tom looked concerned. They looked tough, the ones who were here the other day. I'd have recruited them. Not to have recruited them, he said with an undertone of sadness. He and One Eye have been with the company a long time. They have seen much of its decline. Why were they here? He shrugged. Get some rest, Croker. Don't kill yourself. Won't make a bit of difference in the end. He ambled away, lost in the wilderness of his thoughts. I lifted an eyebrow. He was way down. I turned back to the fires and the lights and disturbing absence of racket. My eyes kept crossing, my vision clouding. Tom Tom was right. I needed sleep. From the darkness came another of those strange, hopeless cries. This one was closer. Up, Croker. The lieutenant was not gentle. Captain wants you in the officer's mess. I groaned. I cursed. I threatened mayhem in the first degree. He grinned, pitched the nerve of my elbow, rolled me onto the floor. I'm up already, I grumbled, feeling around for my boots. What's it about? He was gone. Will Mercy pull through, Croker? The captain asked. I don't think so, but I've seen bigger miracles. The officers and sergeants were all there. You want to know what's happening, the captain said. The visitor the other day was an envoy from overseas. He offered an alliance. The North's military resources in exchange for the support of Beryl's fleets. Sounds reasonable to me, but the Syndic is being stubborn. He's still upset about the conquest of Opal. I suggested he be more flexible. If these Northerners are villains, then the alliance option could be the least of several evils. Better an ally than a tributary. Our problem is, where do we stand if the Legate presses? Candy said. We should refuse if he tells us to fight those Northerners. Maybe. Fighting a sorcerer could mean our destruction. Damn! The mess door slammed open. A small, dusky, wiry man, preceded by a great humped beak of a nose, blew inside. The captain bounced up and clicked his heels. Syndic. Our visitor slammed both fists down on the tabletop. You ordered your men withdrawn into the back. Fuck, no, that's too badass. Hold on. Do you have desks? Do you have plastic desks? Okay, I don't like these wooden ones. They give me staples. You ordered your men withdrawn into the bastion? I'm not paying you to hide like whipped dogs. You're not paying us to become martyrs, neither, the captain replied in his reasoning with fool's voice. We're a bodyguard, not a police. Maintaining order is the task of the urban cohorts. The syndic was tired, distraught, frightened on his last emotional legs. Like everyone else. Be reasonable, the captain suggested. Beryl is past a point of no return. Chaos rules the streets. Any attempt to restore order is doomed. The cure now is the disease. I liked that. I begun to hate Beryl. The syndic shrank into himself. There's still the Forvalaka, that vulture from the north waiting off the island. Tom Tom started out of half asleep. Off the island, you say? Waiting for me to beg. Interesting. The little wizard lapped into semi-slumber. The captain and the syndic bickered about the terms of our commission. I produced our copy of the agreement. The syndic tried to stretch clauses with, yeah, but clearly he wanted to fight it. The legate started throwing his weight around. Elmo started snoring. The captain dismissed us, resumed arguing with our employer. Love it ever after to Andy Pickle. Thank you. Andy Pickle. No problem, love it. My fave series. Glenn Cook has written several series and a couple of standalone books. His Garrett P.I. is worth reading. A detective set in a fantasy setting. More lighthearted than the company. Well now, well now, well now. Andy. Got a lot of good suggestions, doth that Andy Pickle. Quoth the Andy. Shit. I've been talking for 2.5 hours before this, and I am starting to nod off a little bit. I'm gonna try to get how many more pages until the next chapter? Fuck ton. Okay. I'm I'm gonna try to get a little bit further, honestly, guys, but I'm starting to like nod off. It's only been 30 minutes in the stream. I know, but I'm fucking. I'll make it up to y'all. I'll make it up to y'all at some point. Hopefully, maybe, probably. I suppose 7 hours passes as a night's sleep. I didn't strangle Tom Tom when he wakened me, but I did grouse and crab till he threatened to turn me into a jackass brain at the gate of dawn. Only then, after I had dressed and we had joined a dozen others, did I realize that I didn't have a notion what was happening. Andy? Legate. Legate. I'm pronouncing it legate, like legate lanius. Going to look at a tomb, Tom Tom said. Huh? I am none too bright some mornings. We're going to the Necropolitan Hill to eyeball that Forvalaka tomb. Now, wait a minute. Chicken? I always thought you were, Croaker. What are you talking about? Don't worry, you'll have 3 top wizards along, with nothing to do but babysit your ass. One I would go too, but the captain wants him to hang around. Why is that, I want to know? To find out if vampires are real. They could be put up from yon spook ship. Neat trick. Maybe we should thought of that. The Forvalaka threat had done what no force of arms could. Stilled the riots. Tom Tom nodded. He dragged fingers across the little drum that gave him his name. I filed the thought. He's worse than his brother when it comes to admitted shortcomings. Big ol' yawn, big ol' yawn. I do apologize. The city was still as an old battlefield. Like a battlefield, it was filled with stench, lies, scavengers, and the dead. The only sound was the tread of our boots and once the mournful cry of a sad dog, standing sentinel over its fallen master. The price of order, I muttered. I tried to run the dog off. It wouldn't budge. The cost of chaos, Tom Tom countered. Thump on his drum. Not quite the same thing, Croaker. The Necropolitan Hill is taller than the heights on which the bastion stands. From the upper enclosure where the mausoleums of the wealthy stand, I could see the northern ship. Just lying out there waiting, Tom Tom said, like the syndic said. Why don't they just move in? Who could stop them? Tom Tom shrugged. Nobody else offered an opinion. We reached the storied tomb. It looked the part it played in rumor and legend. It was very, very old. Definitely lightning blasted and scarred with tool marks. One thick, oak door had burst asunder. Toothpicks and fragments lay scattered for a dozen yards around. Goblin, Tom Tom, and Silent put their heads together. Somebody made a crack about the way they might have brain between them. Goblin and Silent then took stations flanking the door a few steps back. Tom Tom faced it head on. He shuffled around like a bull about to charge, found his spot, dropped into a crouch with his arms flung up oddly like a parody of a martial arts master. How about you fools open the door? He growled. Idiots. I had to bring idiots. Wham! Wham! On the drum. Stand around with their fingers in their noses. A couple of us grabbed the ruined door and heaved. It was too warped to give much. Tom Tom rapped his drum, let out a villainous scream, and jumped inside. Goblin bounced to the portal beside him. Silent moved up in a fast glide. Inside, Tom Tom let out a rat squeak and started sneezing. He stumbled out, eyes watering, grinding his nose with the heels of his hands. He sounded like a bad cold when he said, "Wasn't a trick." His ebony skin had gone gray. What do you mean? I demanded. He jerked a thumb toward the tomb. Goblin and Silent were inside now. They started sneezing. I sidled to the doorway, peeked. I couldn't see squat, just dust thick in the sunlight close to me. Then I stepped inside. My eyes adjusted. There were bones. Everywhere. Bones in heaps, bones in stacks, bones sorted neatly by something insane. Strange bones they were, similar to those of men, but of weird proportions to my physician's eye. There must have been 50 bodies originally. They'd really packed them in, back when. 4 of a locker for sure. Then, because Beryl buries its villains uncremated. There were fresh corpses, too. I counted 7 dead soldiers before the sneezing started. They wore the colors of a mutinous cohort. I dragged the body outside, let go, stumbled a few steps, was noisily sick. When I regained control, I turned back to examine my booty. The others stood around me, looking green. No fan did that, Goblin said. Tom Tom bobbed his head. He was more shaken than anyone, more shaken than the sight demanded, I thought. Silent got on with busyness, somehow conjuring a brisk small maid of a breeze that scurried in through a mausoleum door and bustled out again, skirts laden with dust and the smell of death. You all right? I asked Tom Tom. He eyed my medical kit and waved me off. I'll be okay. I was just remembering. I gave him a minute, then prodded. Remembering? We were boys, One Eye and me. They just sold us to Nagomo to become his apprentices. A messenger came from a village back in the hills. He knelt beside the dead soldier. The wounds are identical. I was rattled. Nothing human killed that way, yet the damage seemed deliberate, calculated, the work of a malign intelligence. That made it horrible. I swallowed, knelt, began my examination. Silent and Goblin eased into the tomb. Goblin had a little amber ball of light rolling around his cupped hands. No bleeding, I observed. It takes the blood, Tom Tom said. Silent dragged another corpse out, and the organs when it has the time. The second body had split from groin to gullet. Heart and liver were missing. Silent went back inside. Goblin came out. He settled on a broken grave marker and shook his head. Well, Tom Tom demanded. Definitely the real thing. No prank, bar, friend, he pointed. The Northerner continued its patrol amidst a swarm of fishermen and coasters. There were 54 of them sealed up here. They ate each other. This was the last one left. Tom Tom jumped as if slapped. What's the matter? I asked. That means the thing was the nastiest, cunningest, cruelest, and craziest of the lot. Vampires, I asked. In this day? Tom Tom said, not strictly a vampire. This is the were-leopard. The man-leopard who walks on 2 legs by day and 4 by night. I'd heard of werewolves and werebears. The peasants around my home city tell such tales. I'd never heard of a were-leopard. I told Tom Tom as much. The man-leopard is from far south, the jungle. He stared out to sea. They have to be buried alive. Silent deposited another corpse. Blood-drinking, liver-eating were-leopards. Ancient, darkness-wise, filled with a millennium of hate and hatred and hunger. The stuff of nightmare, all right. Can you handle it? Nagamo couldn't. I'll never be his match, and he lost an arm and a foot trying to destroy a young male. What we have here is an old female, bitter, cruel, and clever. The 4 of us might hold her off. conquer her. No. But if you and One Eye know this thing, no, he had the shakes. He gripped his drum so tight it creaked. We can't. I love it. And I'm going to be signing off as well. That feels like a good place to end it. Or to pause for the night because I am about to fucking keel over. Sorry for the short stream. Sorry for the blue balls. I will try to pick this up and read some more. Hopefully next week or this week. The week of the 20th, I will be in better health, meaning I will actually be able to sit down and read long and good for all of y'all. Thank you very much to Love It Ever After and to the Andy Pickle for being in chat and enjoying.